Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to break down a term you've probably heard thrown around, but maybe never got the full story on: community development practice. At its core, it's really all about how groups of people, communities, can create real, meaningful, lasting change right where they live. So, to get us started, just think about this question for a moment. How does a neighborhood actually build a better future? I mean, when you see something positive happen, a new community garden pops up, a street gets safer, local services get better, how does that really come to be? It almost never just happens by accident. There's usually a process, a structured approach happening behind the scenes. All right, so let's cut through all the academic jargon and get right to the heart of what community development really is. Okay, so at its heart, it's really two things at the same time. On one hand, yeah, it's an academic discipline. You can study it, you can read theories, you can learn its history in a university. But I think more importantly, it's a hands-on, practice-based profession. It is a job where people are actively working with communities to help them improve their own situations. And just listen to the goal here. The ambition is huge. This is not about just putting a little Band-Aid on a problem. The whole point is to help build communities that are fundamentally more democratic, more sustainable, and more just for everyone. We're talking about creating real economic opportunities and making sure everyone's rights are front and center. So that is a really powerful purpose, right? But how in the world do you actually make something like that happen? It's definitely not about just wishing for a better world. There's a practical, proven process for turning all that purpose into real action. It pretty much boils down to this really clear three-step method. First, you've got organization. That's all about bringing people together, getting them united around a shared concern or a common goal. Then comes education. This is where the group learns more about the issues, develops new skills, and starts to explore what the solutions could even be. And all of that builds up to the final and, honestly, the most important step: empowerment. This is where the community really gains the confidence and the ability to take action for themselves. But that three-step process, it can't just exist in a vacuum. It's got to be held together by some really core values. None of it works without real open dialogue. It falls apart without mutual respect for every single person's point of view, and you have to have a solid foundation of trust. And this last one is so important: linking action with learning. So every single project, whether it succeeds or fails, becomes a chance to get smarter and more effective for the next one. So that's the core method. But what does this work what does it look like when it's happening? Well, it turns out there are these common threads that you see again and again, whether this work is happening in a tiny rural town or a massive city. So a huge part of it is about how the work gets done. It means taking those values we just talked about, respect, trust, and actually putting them into practice every single day. It means deeply engaging with the community. And this part is absolutely critical: participatory planning. That means the people in the community are the ones making the plan. It's not being handed down to them from somewhere else. They're in the driver's seat. And it goes beyond just how the work is done today. It's also all about building for a better future, creating change that's actually gonna last. That means you have to be constantly learning. You have to make absolutely sure all voices are heard by promoting diversity and inclusion, and you have to be building up local leaders so the community doesn't have to depend on outside help forever. And then, ultimately, you take all those lessons from the ground up to try and improve the bigger policies that affect everyone. Okay, so we've got the big ideas, we've got the methods. But who are the people actually out there, on the ground, making all this stuff happen? Well, the folks who do this work, the practitioners, they usually fall into two main groups. On one side, you've got your professional community workers. I mean, these are the people whose job title is literally community developer. But then on the other side, you have this whole range of other professionals, think social workers, teachers, folks in public health, who use these exact same principles and methods to be way more effective in their own jobs. And this gets to something that is so important about this work. It's not just about having good intentions or, being a nice person who's good at running meetings. To be truly effective, a practitioner has to understand the really complex systems, the political forces, the social dynamics, even the environmental factors that are shaping people's lives and often creating the very problems the community is trying to solve. So when you boil it all down, community development isn't about some expert riding in on a white horse to save the day. Not at all. It is a structured, intentional process designed to help people build their own power and create their own solutions for the future they want to see. Which, of course, leaves us with one last thing to think about. Now that you get the process, this idea of organization, then education, then empowerment, take a look around your own neighborhood, your own community. What potential for change do you see now?